Welcome everyone to the social media happy hour. I'm Chris with the Cloud Campaign team, and joining me, coming back again, thank you so much, is Milou
Yeah.
Pietersz from Simply Multimedia. Today we're going to be talking about something really interesting and kind of like a vulnerable subject. Breaking through imposter syndrome and charging what you're worth, what your value is for your agency. And before we get into that, though, Mil, can you just give us a quick introduction about who you are and what you do?
Yeah, so my name is Milou. I am the founder of Simply Multimedia. We're a boutique marketing agency here in Austin, Texas. We work with 6 and 7 figure creators and brands who want to disrupt. We really grew into a social media PR and now even email marketing agency over time. I started out as a freelance social media manager. I studied advertising and kind of got into that space where I was ghosted by every agency, which kind of crushed my dream of, working for this great agency. And I was like, you know what, maybe this is my sign to build what I always wanted. And kind of took that leap. And I've been in for 5+ years now, and I'm not looking back.
Oh, I love to hear that. You are an absolute superstar. So thank you for carving out some time to just share your perspective with our audience. So just quickly before we get too far in, you also have a very generous offer that you're giving out to our folks who are attending. Can you just tell us a little bit about that real fast?
Yeah, so I actually very recently created a guide on how to start landing high paying clients. I know that is a struggle for most social media managers. I was going through the same starting out. So I've put together a guide that focuses on an elite framework that I've put together, leading into a very brand new membership I launched for social media managers to do exactly that in the last 2 months. But yeah, this guide is completely free for you to check out and kind of see my perspective on the things you need in order to get there.
Awesome. Thank you so much for sharing that. We really appreciate it. I went ahead and posted that into the chat. So if you want to check out those links while we're talking, I'll also share it once again at the end. And these links will be included in the email recap with the video replay of this chat once we are finished. So one last piece of housekeeping. Again, we have the chat. Use it to ask questions. We'll try and carve out some time for a Q&A at the end, but if Milou says something that's just like, ooh, let us know, and we'll dive into that as we go through today's conversation. So with that, let's dive in. You ready?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, so Mil, can you first just kind of help us all get on the same page? What is imposter syndrome and how does it impact agencies?
Yeah, so I think imposter syndrome is really that feeling of thinking that you're doing something you're unqualified to do, right? You are in a space where you question yourself and ask yourself, who am I to charge for this? Or who am I to speak on this topic when showing up on social media? Because I'm not an expert, right? I'm not qualified to do so. And I think it affects social media managers more than any other industry, because first of all, we're often the face of the brand for ourselves, right? Showing up for our brands, promoting ourselves, kind of walking the talk. And then at the same time, we're doing that for clients. And so I think there's a lot of that imposter syndrome that in general comes with social media, right?
Yeah, I know I personally struggled with this, especially when I first started my career in freelancing. Like you said, you are the face of your brand, you're providing value, you're also doing the work. And it can be tough to figure out what value you're adding and how to price that. And also making sure you're coming through on those projects and
Right.
deliverables. So I posted a quick poll. I'm curious, just from you, everyone listening, have you struggled with this? Has it impacted you in some way? Let us know. It's again, it can be a vulnerable place. This is a safe space for us to talk about this. So we definitely want to see who might be has either dealt with it or is dealing with this. Does it ever go away, Mil?
So yeah, I mean, we talked about this, right? And like, I recently wrote an email about it as well, inviting people to this webinar and saying that I kind of felt like it was a trap when I started to notice, like, wow, now today I've had all these achievements when I look back on paper, but yet I still get imposter syndrome. So what is this? Like, this is never going to go away. But that's when you find out it really doesn't go away. It comes and goes. It's more about how you deal with it and respond to it, rather than whether you have it. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, let's just kind of scratch on like how it can actually impact, like in your experience, how has this phenomenon affected, your ability to price or your pricing in the past or the clients that you've chosen? Like, can you comment on that a little bit?
Yeah, I think especially in the very beginning, it was really, in general, it's tough to price yourself, right? Like pricing yourself, putting a price tag on your own services, your own value, and then coming along with all the pressure that comes from especially organic social media that just can be very tough, until I start to get more and more experience with that, and learning that on how to price myself, where is the value, and that it's not just dependent on results. But especially in the beginning, I struggled a lot with that. But even today, sometimes when it comes to pricing myself in different areas, whether I'm speaking somewhere, whether it's brands I'm working with, there's always kind of that one questioning yourself of like, who am I to charge this? Or why me, and to kind of flip that around and say, why not me?
I like that. That's it's a great little
Yeah,
one little extra word or word can completely change the paradigm.
yeah.
So it sounds like maybe for the majority of people kind of struggling with this, is underpricing the typical like first trap people might fall into?
Yeah, I think so. I rarely see people overprice themselves, especially starting out. Like typically what I say to social media managers, without looking at your prices, I already know you undercharge. I already know it, and this is a service that we're one of the fastest growing industries. And I cannot think of anyone who doesn't need social media. Sure, like can you go without it? Totally. But we live in a space and technology where it's become so important and the skill is so valuable that I can guarantee everyone is undercharging,
Yeah, that's been my experience too.
right?
Let's just quickly check in on the poll since Kurt mentioned he's curious to meet the. Well, we had two respondents say no, they've never struggled with this. Good for you. That's awesome. But it seems like the vast majority, almost 90%, of folks have experienced this at some point, or maybe still experience this. I want to also focus in on how could this also impact your ability to select clients or pick, or even just like picking clients in general.
Yeah, because I think as well is what happens is that, the imposter syndrome kind of gets created too when clients start to form that image into our heads. Where I just saw Mandy saying, my struggle is communicating the value of it to small businesses who have tight budgets. They're likely
That
not your
problem's
ideal
real.
client, right? And so what happens is that you keep getting people that tell you, no, you're too expensive, no, 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 or they don't see the value, but it's because you're targeting the wrong people. Those are not the type of people that are probably ready to outsource this and hire someone qualified. And so that's where that imposter syndrome comes from a lot too, where it's like, how am I supposed to know my word if everyone's telling me I'm too expensive?
Yeah. And this can be really challenging when you have bills to pay or staff to put on payroll. It can be really tough to say no to a client or feel like you really have to secure that business in order to, make your business goals or make ends meet even. So I,
Totally.
I empathize with that a lot.
Yeah,
And
and
then
and also to touch on that where you say, yeah, bills to pay and stuff, that totally valid, right? And something I always say to our members too is like, sometimes you got to do what you got to do, right? Like sometimes you got to take on that client with a tight budget that you rather not work with, especially in the beginning. But even sometimes till this day, depending on finances, yes, we do have a team that needs to be supported. So sometimes you may not work with the perfect client all the time, and you kind of, yeah, gotta suck it up.
yeah, yeah. So there can be a fine balance in that
Yeah.
area. The last thing I want to ask is, how have you seen imposter syndrome impact the like projects and deliverables that you've taken on?
I think it has impacted it in a way where, you In a good way as well, I would say, where you look at a client and you want to work with people that you actually can get results, right? So people that have very tight budgets that deliver you no content and none of the stuff you need for them to be successful. You probably would be better off not taking them on, because if anything, you won't be able to deliver, and it creates even more imposter syndrome in terms of results. But also, something we do a lot that has kind of eliminates the imposter syndrome is being data driven. So we're very data driven with all our marketing. We create case studies on all of our clients. So, it's not like we're arguing back and forth whether social media is valuable or whether it works, because we're relying on the data and saying, here's what's happening and here's what we're going to do to make it better, or like, maybe it's already going well. But that way we're not speculating, because I think that happens a lot, and I did that in the beginning. It's like the feed looks nice, but the client is complaining that they're not getting clients, for example. So it's like, what is their goal and how can we actually help them, and can we help them?
Yeah, I think, in this case, numbers speak much louder than words, especially when you
Yeah.
go and I mean, I know this is I'm more on, like, the content creation side of things, so I like flowery words and images and video, and that's where I really thrive, and I'm good at that. I'm not as good about the number side of things, but when you're talking business, it really is, like, that's what's going to resonate with most business owners, i.e. your
Yeah.
clients. I also know personally, taking on projects that maybe like I'm maybe a little bit doubtful, like, can I really deliver on this? But I still need to pay bills. But that can be a good challenge of biting off more than you can chew and chewing it, which
Yeah.
is also that's been my one of my personal experiences with imposter syndrome. Like, can I really? I want to do this
Yeah.
project, but can I?
Right. Am I gonna let them down or not? But then also something like, I'm very honest with clients. I mean, my Dutch directness comes in handy here, where I'm not gonna, sugarcoat coat things. I'm not gonna tell them, hey, this is gonna change your life overnight, right? It is a long-term investment. And so you really need to be in this for the long run, and we're gonna do everything in our power to get you to where you need to go. But it is not a quick fix, it's not a band-aid solution. And I think when you set that expectation at the start, that kind of eliminates that too, where it's like, okay, you've been realistic and clear with them. Versus in the beginning, I feel like we do the opposite, where we kind of try to impress the client, like, yes, we can do that. Or they want to have X amount of followers. Yeah, sure, versus protecting ourselves and the clients, to have a successful relationship.
Yeah, that's very true. There's also an interesting phenomenon. I can't remember the name for it, but it's, there's like a certain subset of people who overestimate their skills and abilities, and that's like one camp. And then there's also the other subset, and I think it's the folks that do struggle with imposter syndrome, that are qualified but underestimate their abilities or skill sets or ability to deliver value. So I think it's also part of just being reflective. And like you said, look at what you've
Yeah.
accomplished and really use
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. I think that helps me in certain situations as well, when I get imposter syndrome, is like, put down on paper the things you have done and remind yourself who you are, you know?
Yeah. Well, let's dive into that. What are some other ways aside from that really awesome tactic of reflecting on your accomplishments? What do you do to really bust through this type of mental state?
Yeah, so I think, it's really, focusing on your work, delivering the best possible work to clients. The data side of things really helps. Like, I love being creative as well, but I think it's a kind of a nice balance going in between strategy, being creative, to where sometimes, we don't have the creative energy or juices anymore, and then it's nice to get into the data. And then another thing that really, really helped me is prioritizing my own brand. And this is not as common across all social media managers. Some people are like, hey, just want to work on clients. I don't want to do my own. And I kind of did that so that I could experiment and show clients what I can do, because you're limited on client accounts, right? And that's what I started to notice early on, where it's like, oh, I rely on their approval. I rely on what they want. I can't really do what I would have been capable of. So that's where I use my personal brand, and I'm like, I can do whatever I want. I can experiment. I can prove myself, and showcase my ability, which has massively helped in, of course, attracting clients, but also converting them because they already know my work. There's already trust there. Yeah, I think that is a big game changer. And so, again, my members in Elite, I push them to get in that space as well and get themselves out there in their best interest.
That's really cool. So you use your personal slash professional brand to like test out new theories, new like lead generation strategies, like ways to develop your funnels for yourself, and then you can also then take those and apply those to your clients when they're
Yeah.
ready. Is that right?
Yeah, exactly. And that's how we organically in my agency have expanded services so much.
Yeah.
Nothing has not been tested on ourselves, or we always do it on ourselves first. If it goes well, then okay, now we can help clients do the same because we know how it works. And social media is so fast paced that you need to have that playground to kind of test and go through all of the things. Yeah, so my own brands I have the most fun with.
Yeah, and just looking at your brands from an outsider's perspective, like seeing how many followers you have, seeing the engagement, and it's really impressive, and you can kind of see that coming into fruition. Is there any? Can you think of one experiment that you've done that sticks out that was really successful for your personal brand that then you were able to apply to clients?
Um, I think a most recent example was I built out a whole launch strategy for the Elite Social Society membership, and this was very tour and the first time we actually launched a proper launch, if you will. So there was an entire funnel, there was a conversion webinar, there was a lot of marketing leading up to this, and so I learned a ton from doing that, and it was a lot of work, right? And but we had a lot of clients who are also launching, they're also doing certain things. Um, and so then, I was able to communicate that with clients and say, I can give you some realistic expectations based on my experience with my following, because it seems like, oh, you have a following, that's easy. You just, you have a ton of buyers everywhere all the time. But it actually doesn't work like that. You have to still be very strategic. And so now we're doing launches for my clients as well in a similar fashion. So yeah, I think that's a great recent example.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing that. Willow came out at us with a very honest and vulnerable question, and really appreciate that. What would you recommend to someone who struggles to put their face out there because I'm going to use their words, quote, makes them cringe? First, I would say, everyone is beautiful. Everyone has their own unique beauty, but I can understand having that just personal apprehension, especially as someone who is on camera often for their work.
Yeah.
I empathize with this.
Yeah, I think, hey Willow, I think I know who Willow is. I think she's in Elite with me. But so something I would recommend here, start small with what you're comfortable with. You don't have to go all out and say, whoa, I'm gonna post 3 times a day and create videos of myself. I'm gonna be on YouTube, I'm gonna be everywhere. Start what's comfortable and slowly start building it up. But I'm truly convinced that we all have that cringe phase where, it feels so awkward because people are going to see us and we're going to, what are going to people going to think of us? And once you break through that, because it's really a mindset block, I've experienced, once you break through that, literally nothing can stop you at that point. And so I really encourage people to, start with what you're comfortable with and start building it up. And it can help to do it like, so let's say a public challenge with others, something I've been thinking about working on for the new year for social media managers as well. Because I've gone through that phase as well. And I'm so thankful that I was showing up in the beginning, even though I look back and I'm like, what was I talking about? Like that, that was, and even till this day, I mean, I open my YouTube channel and you know how those videos start auto playing and I hear my voice every day, all day, every day. And I'm like, I know the scripts on repeat, like on autopilot right now, but yeah, I think I recently did a thread on this as well, where it said something, if you're not cringing at yourself, you're doing it wrong. Like it's totally a good sign, because it means you're putting yourself out there. But that would be my initial way to get your foot in the door.
Yeah, I think we're our own worst critics a lot of the
Yeah.
times. And, again, to your point, that's that's good. You want to put your best foot forward. You want to put the best product you can out there. But there's really, I think, that human connection, that face. You could be behind some kind of like, they have those emojis, that emoji avatars that you can hide
Right.
behind. I've seen those, and that's an option. But there's really no substitute for that genuine, like, I am a human person. Hi, I'm also vulnerable. I also struggle. I also have successes, and embrace that and share that with the world. That's really valuable.
Yeah.
So the world wants to see your face, Willow. I'm sure of it.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think, yeah, like you said as well, like when you change, kind of focus on the why. So I recently had a one-on-one call with a mentee as well, where again, struggle to show up on camera and things like that. They have a family, and that's kind of their main why, and that this has to work. And so kind of focus on that. What is your why to show up, right? Also, you're not going to care as much about being cringe, but instead you're going to focus on, hey, I want to show up because of my family so I can attract more business and we can live a better life, for example. So I think if you change that around too, it makes your mindset a lot different versus focusing on, oh no, people are going to think I'm cringe. They're going to, not like what I put out there and stuff.
Yeah, no, I love that. Find your power, find that motivation.
Yeah.
Yeah, I struggled with this early on because did a lot of public speaking, and that's one of the most terrifying things. I did it for a fundraising organization for a nonprofit, where it's like you're going out to people and asking them for money for nothing. That's really
Yeah.
hard.
Right.
So it's but then you figure out that why, like you said, you're trying to help people, you're trying to create a better community, and it becomes a lot easier to relate with that.
Yeah,
So
and you really inspire more people than you think, as well, by just showing up and having the courage. So many people don't actually always like, comment on your things, but they're watching you and, rooting for you in that sense.
yeah, especially if you're, looking for those right clients, attracting the right clients to your channels. I think that also lends to that. Speaking of which, can we shift gears and start talking about attracting the right clients, how to do that? Like, what does like right clients mean for your agency? How do you find that?
Yeah, so I think it's very important for social media managers to define their own brand and who they work with, who their ideal client is, right? So it is okay if you want to work with local businesses and they may have some tighter budgets, but maybe you're very passionate about working with the local small business owners. So it really depends who you work with, so you can align your messaging accordingly. Um, and that again is something I teach in Elite as well. It goes from branding, pricing, and strategy, because they all go hand in hand, right? So if your messaging doesn't align, you're not going to attract the clients that will pay the price of your packages. If your packages aren't put together that are based on the actual value you provide, rather than industry standards, for example, and then your strategy skills that come in by showcasing your value in words. And so attracting the right client is really, really defining who you work with and putting your brand out there that way as well. So, just to give a quick example, a recent example I had with another mentee is she wants to work with the bigger clients that are at least making seven figures, very well established. And then from just auditing her brand and things like that, I noticed I could not find her prices anywhere. And so if you're targeting those type of people, they value their time, right? Because they're already running a successful business. And if they have to look for your prices and then go through hoops and hurdles to get to work with you, most likely they are not going to and gonna, look at other options. And so all these things you need to take into account when putting yourself out there, the type of things you talk about. Another thing, for example, is you see a lot of people sharing, oh, trending audio, use this trending audio. Me personally, I purposely don't, because my clients are not looking for the next, trend. Um, sure, I could do that, and I'm sure it would, perform great as well, especially on Instagram. But you want to tailor it to your client and the people you want to attract with, the right messaging there. Yeah.
That's interesting, especially what you said about the pricing and making your pricing available. I know it's like just a generally a common like sales tactic to and marketing tactic to like email us for pricing for quotes.
Yeah,
But I guess what folks don't realize is that's actually a roadblock for certain
yeah.
types of industries.
Yeah, I think it can really hurt. And I think again, there's imposter syndrome, right? Putting your prices out there. I remember even myself, I had that still this year where I was like, oh, should I put that out there? And I sometimes get like negative feedback from other social media managers who will say, whoa, this is way overcharged, or like things like that. And until one day I decided, no, I need to own these prices, and this is, what we're worth. And because we deliver on our work, and I think we do great work as a team. And so when you really own up on your pricing and put it out in the world, you start attracting people that don't blink at those prices.
Yeah. And I think I don't want to cast aspersions against any other social media managers or fellow marketers, but sometimes I do wonder if you put something out there like your pricing and you feel like you've done your homework and you've put out a good pricing strategy and someone says, "Hey, what are you doing?" There might be a little bit of their imposter syndrome coming in like, "Oh,
Yeah.
they're charging this. That makes me anxious. Like maybe I need to lash out." You know what I mean? Like there's this like
Yes.
that
Yeah. I
yeah.
It kind of reminds me what I always say is like that competition happens at the bottom. There's a lot of like, oh, there's not enough for everyone out there. And I always teach, that's why I teach social media managers exactly what I do while I'm doing it, because there's enough for us all. Like, I will teach you everything we do and how to do it so that you can do the same and, attract your ideal clients. Um, and yeah, again, that imposter syndrome trigger. And that's why I'm also very open. I didn't start here. I worked for free for a long time. I worked for $300. I worked for 500, 900, going up and up and up. And I think it's important for people to see, because it's not overnight. It's not that you wake up and you decide, hey, I'm going to charge at least $3,500 for social media management clients, but it's a process. Yeah.
Well, we also have a couple of questions that I think are relevant to this too, from Brenda. Brenda's asking, I'm going to paraphrase a little bit. Doesn't spent 6 years or longer in general marketing, doesn't have a marketing degree, has paying clients, charges adequate price, let me use my words, charges adequate prices, and gives data-driven reports, but still struggles going for those big clients. What would you say to Brenda in this case?
So, I would have some questions in terms of how you're currently getting those clients. So that would be my first one. Like, what are you struggling with the big clients? Are you getting the inquiries, but do you struggle to convert them, or are you just not getting the inquiries? So that would be my first question, just to have some more context. If Brenda is still here, so that I
Yeah.
can give some better insights.
I would also want to like follow up with that too. Like, if what it sounds like, I'm reading in between the lines here, but it seems like there's maybe a link to imposter syndrome of I don't have a marketing degree, and is that limiting me from getting big clients? And personally, I would say, having the degree, I've never seen a company ask, when you're freelancing or running an agency, hey, where did you go to school? Like that's not really part of
Right.
the
I
conversation. It's
used to
what
think
value can you deliver?
I used to think that as well. I actually did study advertising and media, but nobody cares. I started to notice very quickly. So she's saying she's not getting inquiries. She relies on word of mouth. And I talk about this a lot, and why I teach, build your own brand and align your messaging to attract those bigger clients. That is a big part. Branding will be a big part of getting those inquiries and getting out there, so that you don't only rely on word of mouth. I think I literally just did a post about that too, where it's a dangerous game if we're only relying on word of mouth. Because at some point, what if those leads run dry? We want to be able to take in our own leads. And that's why I feel like I'm constantly selling our services, even though we're actually booked out until further in 2025.
Good for
But
you.
I need to make sure there's always, you never know if someone doesn't renew, or that kind of entrepreneurial instability, if you will. So yeah, focus on your brand, getting yourself out there, And if you're not already doing it, you say you're creating data-driven reports, is to build case studies so that you can show these when you get the inquiries, but even as social media posts as well, you can showcase those results.
Yeah, the more you share those and fill your feed with that information, and also it sounds like maybe starting some automated lead funnels or lead generation, to be able to distribute that and get that visibles, and you can really communicate the value there. So
Yeah, and
hopefully,
and that's also a thing, like a case study post may not, make you go viral, but it probably will attract leads on people that are interested in those results, you know?
yeah, and honestly, virality versus generating paying customers, like, I would
Right.
prefer, one
Yeah,
post generate, a long-term client than getting a ton of
totally.
visibility
Any
any
day.
day.
Yeah.
Yeah, jinx. And then I think there was another one, and hey, we'll tee you up for this, Mill. Any online courses, classes to sharpen those social media marketing
Well,
skills, huh?
um, there might be one of the best memberships. No, I recently launched a membership, the Elite Social Society, and that is a membership that you can join, cancel any time. But it is a membership that has over 50 video trainings that you get instant access to. We do monthly live coaching calls with myself and all of the members in there. You get access to resources, done for you templates and resources, and have community that all goes through the same things, which is really great to lift each other up. So if you want to check it out, we can probably drop the link.
Yeah, we definitely will reshare that at the end, and I'll be putting it in the email recap. This is just outside perspective. Milou is a superstar. She's a great marketer, has a great
I don't know
understanding.
about that.
Well, I don't benefit from saying this stuff in any way. Just that I've seen what you do. We partner with you because of these reasons. So just as an outside, vouching, like you'd
Appreciate
be in
it.
good hands, spending some time with Milou for sure. So I hope that you follow up with her, Madison, and join the elite society. I think it would be a great fit. One more question from Dwayne, and then we'll keep the train rolling. Dwayne focuses on conferences and networks to gain clients there. Is this a good investment to grow their portfolio?
Yes, I love that. In person, I actually recently, when I redid a YouTube video on like how to get clients, something I brought in is like, hey, this is often overlooked, especially nowadays, but getting out there in person. So you already have that trust. I 100% think that is such a great way, because it builds trust. You can get out there, get to know people, network. We get a lot of people too now through the network I've built with whether it's brand partners or other people that will refer you. Because when you build your network, what you notice is that some people will refer you and they have never even worked with you, but they know what you're about. They love what you do. So I 100% think networking and conferences is a super, super great investment. For myself, I've been doing a lot of speaking and traveling with the team, and even there, it's really nice because people get to hear you talk in person versus watch another social media post, and it gets saturated online too, and they get to really connect with you. So I think that's super great. Bring those business cards with QR codes and all of that good stuff to get it out there.
Yeah, and to your point earlier, I think it's also as long as the conferences fit that target, right fit client or client audience
Yeah,
that you've identified, will definitely help. You don't want to go somewhere where it's not relevant to you, or they're just out of
totally. Yeah.
misalignment.
And even if
Well,
you look local, like you can use like an Eventbrite, to check out some of the local free events and network and get to know people, offer value to them, and grow your network.
pro tip there. I like that. Eventbrite for your conference and event research. Milou, we are running out of time. This has gone way too fast. Thank you
This
so much
flew
for sharing all this.
by.
It did, but I do want
Yeah.
to dive into our last topic, and I think it's important, and it's about pricing your value. What can you like? How do you identify your unique value, and what are some strategies to get the right pricing? Can you comment on that a little bit before we wrap up?
Yeah, I love that. So, yeah, what I mean with pricing your value, it's instead of looking at your competitors and looking what other people charge, right? And basing your pricing of that, look internally, and the value you provide in terms of, how many years of experience do you bring? How many clients have you already worked with? All of those things go into the value. Are you a team, an agency? Do you have people on payroll? Are you paying contractors? You all need to take that into account because it brings more value to a client because they don't only get access to you. And then case studies is another one, right? To prove your value, to showcase, hey, these are results we get, and to price yourself. So that is one of the first things I would mention there. Um, yeah.
Very cool. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. If folks, we are running a little bit low on time, so if you do have questions, please start popping those into the chat now, and we'll wrap up today's session by answering those. Paul had a great one. Paul, are you an insider? What is this? How has your partnership with Cloud
Yeah.
Campaign modified or improved your go-to-market strategy? I love it. Thank you, Paul.
Anonymous. Yeah, so partnering with Cloud Campaign, and I recommend it to our mentees as well inside of Elite, but it really is such an all-in-one tool that is built for, especially for agencies. So if you're more than one person, you can really use its skill, whether it's white labeling, whether you're using the approval processes all inside of one tool, which other tools don't really have. So that will help avoid you with having additional costs of getting other tools and other tools, because we all know a tech stack starts stacking up after a while. That all lead to more cost. So yeah, partnering with Cloud Campaign, and we've been with Cloud Campaign I think almost 2 years now, which is sounds like a really long time. And their team is great, and I'm not saying that because you're here now.
Well, we do appreciate that. I told Mill at the beginning, this is not a hard sell of Cloud Campaign. It's really to just provide value to folks, answer questions, and bring in these expert opinions and perspectives. But we do try to, pack as much value into our platform as possible. And to your point earlier, Milou, about pricing your strategy and the things that you use add value to your clients. If you can find efficient ways to consolidate that, and if you're getting an approval process, white labeling,
Yeah,
automation, report generation, all within a single package like Cloud
yeah.
Campaign, then that does increase your value and can increase what you charge or your retainers for your customers.
Yeah, and that's a great point too. As we were talking about pricing and value earlier, I mean, it's such a broad topic. Like we can have a whole nother webinar on that. But to your point, yes, client experience is huge. And what really helped me get to that next level is when I started to implement all my systems and processes. I actually just dropped an entire module on that, on systems and processes, because you need to have a seamless client experience to where we talked about that earlier. If a high ticket client can't even find your pricing, what is your inquiry process like, your discovery process, what are the next steps, onboarding, is it all smooth and seamless, or is it kind of playing it by ear? And so that is a big difference that I talk about a lot on social media as well, between the lower paid social media manager and the social media manager that attracts the higher caliber clients.
Yeah. And that, like you said, that user engagement, that user experience really is a big deal. How easy is it for
Yeah.
your clients to approve content, to contribute
Yeah.
media for the content, et cetera? You
Yeah,
know,
because you don't want to make it harder on them, because we still have clients that need to submit content to us, right? Record stuff, but we want it to be super easy for them. Just record some stuff, have fun with it, and we take it from there. And there's no guessing, there's no questions. They know exactly what happens each step of the way. So I think that is a big, big differentiator if you want to take it to the next level.
and the converse is true. Like the tools you use should make you more efficient at your work so you can do better work, report deeper insights, focus on attracting more of the right clients. So that's something to keep in mind as you build your stack, as you build your value offering. Genesis
Yeah.
has an interesting question. I'm a little biased as an SEO, someone who's made their career off of SEO. Do you think a website is still good to have, or should you focus more on social media to get clients? Debating on canceling my website subscription. Ooh, what do you think
So
about that?
I've gone back and forth on that, honestly, and I would say yes. A website is good use, especially like how we do, and I I've come to a place where I'm driving everything to my website. Like my entire launch strategy was through my website, which actually increased website traffic by over 100%, but that's a whole nother case study.
And your website looks
But
great too, by the way. Just want to say,
thank
it's a
you.
good looking
That's me,
website.
myself, and I.
Well done.
But yeah, and so having case studies, and it's funny you say that because my clients in discovery calls, or when they sign on, they tell me that. They say, "We love the website. It's very clear. It was an easy sell for us." They see the case studies, they see our services, pricing is there, approximate pricing is there. Um, I can drop the website real quick here as
I got
well.
you.
Um, and yeah, and so I think yes, have a website, even if it's just to be there. It makes you look more professional, and it shows your work at the end of the day. But if you're just starting out, you can probably get away with having a simple funnel like a Calendly link to book a call with you, asking them some questions. But I probably would hold off on canceling the website subscription. Maybe doing a revamp or adding some more information to drive people there when they have questions about your work and services.
Yeah, if it's not serving you right now, it might be good to do some troubleshooting to see why. SEO is a big part of it. Case studies are nice because you can really focus on those niche customers that might be a little bit smaller part of the market, but they might be your right clients. So if you're well optimized for that niche, it gives you some really powerful tools to drive people to that portion of your site. Then you can also throw some paid advertising behind that case study, which is the tactic I've used in the past to generate a ton of higher qualified leads once you have those targeted case studies.
Yeah, I
But
would love to learn more about SEO. Maybe there can be a separate webinar.
oh yeah, we should definitely chat sometime.
Yeah,
But yeah, I think the website's part of things. To your point, it's a professional face of your company that people can find. It builds trust too, in my
yeah,
opinion.
totally.
All right. Well, we are coming up to the end of our session. Sad that the time has flown by so quickly,
I
but Milou,
know.
I really appreciate the great conversation and insights that you've lended to our crew.
Yeah, this was so fun. Honestly, the fastest happy hour I've been to.
Same. Well, also thank you everyone for your comments, questions, and also just also saying nice things about Cloud Campaign and Milou and the Elite Society. Speaking of which, Milou, can you share one more time? I'm going to pop the links into the chat, but can you just talk about the Elite Society one more time and where people can find you?
Yeah, so the Elite Social Society is a monthly membership, and I think I made a typo earlier in it. But the Elite Social Society is a monthly membership where I teach social media managers how to attract those higher paying clients and join the Elite League in social media management. Um, it's a full, almost like a course library that gets updated every single month, where I add new trainings. We just dropped systems and processes, actually, which we just talked about. It's a great community. We get live monthly coaching as well. And yeah, you can find me on Instagram. If you are not ready yet to join, you can binge watch me on YouTube, where honestly, there's a ton of value and a ton of great information already as well.
Yeah, a lot of great content on your YouTube channel as well as your Instagram. Again, if don't trust us, look at folks in the chat who have said that Milou is great and that you'll benefit from the Elite Society. One last thing before we go, if you are looking for the video recap, just check your email a little bit later today. You can watch the replay. And if you're not using Cloud Campaign right now to manage your social media, head over to cloudcampaign.com. Jump on a 2-week trial for free. You can also schedule time with our team to get an idea of how Cloud Campaign can fit specifically within your business to generate more revenue and scale your social media services. So with that, Milou, I hope we get to have you back sometime in the future to talk about something else. But
I
otherwise, have a
know.
great weekend, and thank you so much for your time.
Yeah, thank you for everyone who joined and engaged. This was a lot of fun. I'll see you guys later.
All right, catch you later.
Bye.
Bye.